In the United States, a surprising fact is important in the year 2025. Every 10 minutes, one store closes its doors forever. This means that many shops are disappearing across the country. It is a big problem that many people are talking about. Some people call this time the retail apocalypse. It is a period when traditional stores face serious difficulties. Why is this happening? There are different reasons for these closures. More and more people today prefer to shop using their mobile phones or computers. This way of buying things is called e-commerce. It is often very easy and quick for the customer. On the other hand, physical stores have high costs to stay open. They must pay money for rent, for electricity, and for the people who work there. When fewer customers visit the stores, it is very difficult for many businesses to earn enough money to pay these rising costs. This problem of closing stores is not just a small thing. It is like a strong economic force that is hard to stop. It is changing the way towns and cities look and feel. Empty buildings are appearing in places where busy shops used to be. This situation affects local communities and the economy in those areas. In the White House, the president hears about these difficult numbers. At first, he might feel surprised, and maybe he does not fully believe how serious it is. But soon, he starts to understand the true size of the problem. He sees that these store closures are a threat. He thinks this crisis is bad for his time as president and how people will remember his work. This makes him feel very angry about the situation. This difficult time for stores presents a big challenge for the president. He must now face this powerful economic force. It is a force that seems very hard to control or stop. This chapter tells about the beginning of this big problem and how the president learns about its seriousness. It prepares the situation for what will happen next in this difficult time for stores across America. 2. The bad numbers. The president wanted to know more. He asked his main advisors to come to his office. These were people who knew a lot about money and businesses. The advisors came. They brought papers and charts. They showed the president the numbers. The numbers were not good. They were bad numbers. The advisors talked about stores. They said stores were not making enough money from the space they used. They called this square foot crisis. They showed that the number for how well stores used their space was much lower now. Before, it was like 375. Now, it was only 281. This was a big problem. Stores needed to make more money to pay for rent, lights, and workers. The advisors said this problem was not new. It started during the time of the sickness, the pandemic. It had been getting worse slowly for a long time. They called this slow problem structural bleeding, like a cut that does not stop bleeding. The president listened. He did not like the news. He felt angry. He wanted a simple reason for the problem. He wanted to find one person or one thing to blame for the bad numbers. But the advisors showed him it was a big, hard problem with many reasons. 3. Big shops closed down. Big shops started to close down across the country. These were not small, unknown places. They were famous names that many Americans knew well and had visited for years. Stores like Macy's, a very old department store, closed many locations in cities and malls. J.C. Penney, another large shop often found in shopping malls, also closed many stores. Even shops for specific things had problems. GameStop, which sold video games, closed hundreds of stores. This happened because people stopped buying games on physical discs that you buy in a shop. They started downloading games directly onto their consoles using the internet. The old way of buying games in a shop was ending quickly because of this change. The main reason for these big closures was simple. People were changing how they shopped in a very big way. It became very easy and fast to buy things online using phones and computers. This is called e-commerce. People liked the convenience of shopping from home or anywhere, anytime. They could click a few buttons and get what they needed delivered right to their door. This convenience of buying online meant fewer people visited the large physical shops. When big stores like J.C. Penney closed in a mall, it meant fewer people came to that mall at all. This hurt other shops in the same place. Big stores needed many customers to pay for large buildings, high rent, electricity, and many workers. When fewer people came, sales went down a lot. The money coming in was often not enough to pay the high costs of running a large physical store. The president saw these well-known shops disappearing. He felt a personal connection to them. He had grown up seeing these stores as important parts of towns and cities, places for families to go. Their failure felt like a national loss to him, almost an embarrassment for the country. He thought it was a terrible thing for America. It showed that the crisis was not just numbers or money, it was hurting the heart of American shopping culture and the places where people used to gather. Seeing these big, empty buildings made the problem feel very real and important. It was a clear sign that the way Americans shopped and lived was changing rapidly. This made the president feel strongly that something needed to be done to save these parts of American life. The closing of big shops was a sign that the situation was very serious for the country's economy and culture. 4. Empty towns. The problem of shops closing was not only for big cities. It was also very bad for small towns across the country. Life became much harder for many people living there. Many local stores closed their doors. Places where people got medicine, like pharmacies, were hit hard. Companies like Rite Aid closed many stores, hundreds of them. Another company, Walgreens, also closed hundreds. This meant that in many small towns, people could not find a pharmacy close by. These places became known as pharmacy deserts. Getting medicine became a difficult trip. People often had to drive 14 kilometers or even more to reach a pharmacy. This was especially hard for older people or those who were sick. Driving far costs money for gas, and it takes a lot of time. This made it harder for families to get the medicine they needed regularly. Stores that sold everyday items at low prices also closed. Places like Family Dollar were important in small towns. They sold food, cleaning supplies, and other needed things. When these stores closed, it left people with fewer options. Sometimes they were the last store in a town. Families, especially those who did not have a lot of money, had to travel much farther to buy groceries or other basic things. This extra travel cost money and time, making life more expensive. Temporary help, like market trucks, sometimes visited these areas. But this was not a long-term answer and did not create jobs. When stores in a town close, the town government loses money from taxes. This money helps pay for things that everyone uses. Less tax money means the town has less money for important services. There can be less money for local schools. There can be less money for the fire department that keeps people safe. One town had less money because its big stores closed. The leaders there had to stop providing free lunches for many children at school. This showed how losing shops hurt families in a very real way. The empty buildings in town were sad to see. They were more than just empty spaces. They showed that the way people lived and the jobs they had in these towns were slowly disappearing. The feeling of community, which often centered around these local shops, was fading away. The economic life of these small towns was changing completely. It was a difficult time for the people who called these places home. 5. The President's Plan. The problem was clear. Many stores were closing. This was bad for towns across the country. It was especially bad for the people living there. These were the people who supported the president. He saw their worry. He knew he had to do something big and fast. The president decided it was time for action. He wanted to fix the problem. He called his plan the Retail Rescue Plan. He announced it one evening on television. People all over the country watched and listened. He said the plan would help save American stores. He said it would bring shoppers back. He talked about Main Street, the old, important streets in towns with many local shops. He said saving these places was important for the country. The plan had different parts. One part was about taxes. The president wanted to give tax breaks. This could help stores and people have more money. Maybe stores could pay less tax. Maybe shoppers would have more money to spend. Another part of the plan was about goods from other countries. The president talked about putting more tax on these goods. This is called tariffs. He said this would make goods from other countries more expensive. Then people would buy more things made in America, from American stores. He said this was a way to fight for American jobs and businesses. The president did not stop with the TV speech. He started to travel. He held large meetings, like rallies. He spoke to many people. He told them the Retail Rescue Plan was the answer. He told them they needed to help. He asked people to go out and shop in their local stores. He said it was their duty as Americans. It was a patriotic fight, he said, to keep the shops open and the towns alive. He used strong words. He said America would not lose its stores. He promised that his plan would work. He wanted people to believe that shopping in physical stores, not just online, was the best way. He wanted to see people back in the shops, buying things, helping the economy. The president pushed his plan hard, hoping to turn the situation around and stop the wave of closures affecting communities everywhere. 6. The plan fails. Even after the president announced his big plan to help American stores, the bad news did not stop. Stores all across the country continued to close their doors almost every day. It was a constant, difficult problem. It felt like every 10 minutes another store building was empty. The president's plan was meant to help in several ways, but the reasons behind the store failures were very powerful economic forces that were hard to stop. The main reason was that people had truly changed the way they shopped. They found it much easier and quicker to buy things using their smartphones or computers from home. They liked the speed and convenience of having items delivered quickly or picking them up easily without spending much time inside a physical store. This large, ongoing shift in what shoppers wanted was very difficult for traditional stores to overcome, even with new government help. Running a physical store also remained very expensive. The money needed for rent on the buildings, electricity, and paying employees was high. Many stores found they were not making enough money from the small number of customers who did visit the buildings to cover these costs. This problem meant the large store spaces were not being used effectively to make profit. Experts explained that this was a deep structural issue in the economy. The old way of retail, based on physical space, was not working well anymore against the rise of digital shopping. Experts also pointed out that the president's plan, while trying to boost shopping, could not easily change global economic trends or the basic shift in consumer habits towards convenience. Other things like increased costs for importing goods because of taxes, or rising costs for security in town center stores to stop theft, added to the financial pressure on businesses. Stores simply could not make enough profit margin to cover all their expenses and stay open. As more stores closed their doors permanently, the people or companies who owned the buildings faced big financial problems. They often could not pay back the money they owed on the buildings they had bought or built. The rate of these unpaid loans, called commercial mortgage defaults, started to rise significantly, causing serious difficulties for banks and property owners across the country. The president watched as his plan did not work as well as he had hoped. The number of store closures did not slow down or stop. He had made promises to help these businesses and save the jobs they provided. Seeing reality clash with his goals and promises caused him growing frustration. The powerful forces changing retail proved too strong for his plan to completely stop the crisis that was changing towns and cities. 7. The new shops. The old shops were closing every day. People did not go to them like before. They used their phones to buy things. Now, a new kind of shopping was coming. It was different and fast. Big buildings stood outside the towns. These were automated warehouses. Machines worked inside. They moved boxes and put things together for orders. Computers helped them. This was part of the new way. It needed very few people to work inside. This new system used clever technology. It had AI, like smart computer brains. These brains helped manage where everything was. They knew which things to send and where to send them. It was like a big, silent dance of goods. For quick deliveries, small flying machines called drones were used. They could carry light packages right to people's doors. This was much faster than a truck for some things. It meant you could get what you needed very quickly after clicking a button on your phone. The old way of shopping was about physical stores. You walked in, saw things, and talked to people who worked there. The new way was less about people. It was about speed and machines. It was very efficient. Things moved from big warehouses to your home with few steps. But this new way also had problems. Everything was in just a few big places. If one of these big warehouses had a problem, like a storm or a power cut, many people might not get their things. The old system with many small shops was spread out. It was less fast, but maybe safer in a crisis. The physical world of shops was getting smaller. Empty buildings were left in towns. The digital world of shopping was getting bigger. It was centered far away in large, automated places. This made buying things easy and quick for many people. But it also changed towns and the kind of jobs people could find. Fewer jobs were needed for this new, efficient system. It was a big change for the country. 8. America is different now. Many stores closed in America. This was a big change for the country. It was more than just a problem with money. It changed how people lived every day. Going to shops was a way of life for many. People met in stores and shopping areas. These places were important for towns and cities. They were like centers for the community. But now many of these places are empty or gone. The feeling of community is different too. The country's economy changed quickly. New systems use computers and robots. Things move from big buildings far away to people's homes. This new way is very fast and uses less people. It is efficient. But it can also be weak. If one big building stops working, many people might not get what they need. The old way, with many small stores, had problems, but it was perhaps stronger in a different way. It spread things out more. The president now must lead a nation that feels new. The economy is not the same. Jobs changed. It is harder for some people to find work that was in stores. What is the price of this new way? Towns lose shops and places where people worked and met. It can be hard for people to buy food or medicine in some areas now. The money that stayed in towns is leaving. The stores are gone. But something else is gone too. The structure of local life is fading away. It is not just about buying things. It is about the places and the people connected to them. What do you think about these changes?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.